change it this way just a little bit. Yeah. Okay. Let's try this again. All right. Let me know, guys, if for some reason you can't hear me. I plugged our microphone back in, but let me just test it over here and see what's going on and see if I can actually hear it on this phone. Okay. So we're going to try this again. If you see any technical or hear any technical difficulties, please let us know. We appreciate you guys giving us feedback because obviously when we're live, we can't hear it. So, okay. Back to what we were talking about, yes, which is finding your balance. Mm-hmm. And I was saying in the earlier video that clearly we had some technical issues with that when I showed up at Shannon's today, because we were going to shoot some episodes of What Your Friends
Tina.
Won't Tell You.
Can you hear us and everything, Tina?
Yeah. Is it?
How is the sound?
Is everything sound okay? That is the question. Okay. So I think they'll let us know if there's a problem. Okay. So I came over to Shannon's. I immediately started crying because I just feel like I'm in this really weird transition part of my life where nothing's settled. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Lauren says she can hear us crystal clear. Thank you, Lauren. So I think I think this is happening to a lot of women our age, maybe.
Yes.
I mean, where you think everything's going like you think it's supposed to, and then all of a sudden, bam.
Perimenopause. Bam,
you're
perimenopause.
Like, and it's true, like it starts to pop up around my period when it gets really bad, and the fear takes over and the anxiety takes over, and then you know what happens when that happens is I don't take care of myself.
Right.
And so I get down the spiral.
Right.
You know?
It's a slippery slope.
So I was telling Shannon that today I woke up, I went to yoga because I really wanted to feel better. And I went to the grocery store because I was going to make myself breakfast. And this magazine was staring me in the face. And it's the Real Simple magazine, which I love. But this is a special edition on finding your balance. And what I loved about what they were saying in the magazine is that, you know, and I think we all know this innately, but maybe we know it consciously, but subconsciously, we still think that, like, that when we get that job, when we get in that relationship, when we have that baby, when we get more money, like, life's going to be better. Yeah. Everything's going to be fine.
Right. I'll be happy when.
But think of all the moments in your life where things have turned out like you wanted them to, and that's fleeting.
And you're not happy because no matter where you go, there you are.
And so this really talks about noticing the moments of joy that come up within your day. You know, noticing when you're sipping that tea and just how nice it feels. This morning when I was eating breakfast, you know, I was actually noticing myself eating breakfast instead of trying to do work on the computer or be on my phone while I was eating. And it's all about like that mindful way of eating.
My colleague used to call it being with the tea. Smelling the tea, holding the tea, you know, just taking each sip of the tea, listening to everything around you while you're just being with the tea, being in that moment instead of being outside your body. Which is where most of us are. And
the other thing that really resonated with me in this magazine, and I've only gotten through the first couple of pages because I just bought it this morning, but the other thing that resonated with me was the editor's note. The woman's name is maybe Leslie. Anyway, Leslie was talking about how she went to therapy and the therapist was asking her, how do you relax at home? And she said, well, I usually try to get through my to-do list first, and then I watch TV, and then I pay my bills, and then I do some light, you know, housework. And I'm like,
relaxing.
That's not relaxing. But to be honest with you, that's how I view relaxing, because I find it very hard to just do nothing.
And you probably find it soothing to get through the tasks because you're a taskmaster in your head. So it's like, no, that relieves my stress, relieves my anxiety. But really, our anxiety, we're vibrating, and then we're staying busy so that we don't feel that anxiety. So like with you, when you stopped running and you didn't have a routine, then you feel all that anxiety.
And I think that's what happened to me yesterday. So after the Rise and Live show, I came home and it was like this, whew, like I'd been, someone had punched me in the gut.
Yeah.
You know, because I was going, and then I stop, and then I'm like, okay, well, what do I do now? Okay, now I got to deal with my feelings, and I don't like to deal with my feelings. So what do I do? Okay, maybe if I go to the beach, that'll make me feel better, you know? And it's like that whole feeling of having to do.
Well, and you know what, as I'm listening to you, the thing that I'm kind of what resonates for me, which is the same concept, but the other side of it is we're all so busy and we've been running so much. We have kids and we're just go. You know, cortisol, adrenaline, these items were put in our brain 1 billion years ago so that when a bear chased us, right? When the bear came out of the woods, we could go, oh my God, run for your life. But you know what I feel like? And Kim's saying I feel anxious all the time.
The whole
They'll tell you you're forgetting to do something, or you feel anxious that you're forgetting to do something. Right. But so the bear will chase us. And what I'm realizing is spending a lifetime running with kids right where you're at, right? Trying to do business and coming up with the show and running and doing all those segments. I'm watching the show and going, when did they film that? I mean, all the pieces. And then you've got 2 children, and then you've got dinners and laundry and all that. So we're all the time running from the bear and the adrenaline and the cortisol and you know, the adrenal glands going crazy. And then we stop and all these hormones are in our body and being released. And then of course you talk about, you know, that time of the month for us girls. So all these hormones are surging and then we are vibrating. And that's what I'm experiencing is just that adrenal fatigue, that hormonal surges and which creates the anxiety, of course. I love when people are like, well, maybe you're just anxious. And I'm like, well, yeah, I'm anxious because I don't feel good for 3 years. Like when you don't feel good, you get anxious about not feeling good. So it's this whole pile. But I think that it's so interesting that the running and the doing is also feeding the adrenal fatigue, the cortisol, the adrenaline, which is then making us super anxious when we try to stop.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does make sense because I will tell you that the hardest part for me is trying to come down from that. You know, like for instance, producing these shows, like I get crazy. And then all of a sudden, like what I've tried to do is take some downtime on the back end of those, but it's like I've just been, you know, like
running from a bear.
Yeah.
So then you are spending your entire vacation trying to not vibrate.
Right.
Which is not a vacation.
And the only thing I've found that helps me get out of that is to physically exhaust my body. So whether that's yoga, hot yoga, or to go for a run, or like honestly, like exhausting my body is the only way I can get out of that spinniness.
Well, as a clinician, the first tool that I would want to give on this is everyone I have on my caseload that was born with anxiety. You know, I just have these amazing humans that just have always vibrated. Forget about hormones. It's just been their way. They all talk about intense exercise, yoga, you know, doing these mindful techniques exercise-wise, and then also just burning it out, running, you know, Zumba, whatever, high energy stuff is changing their brain chemistry. So that's definitely one of the first things, and you agree with that as well. Yeah. And I feel definitely much better when I feel well enough to do those things. I feel much better from them. So that's definitely.
And even meditation, when, you know, people talk about meditation, but for me, I can't meditate when I'm in the crazy brain because my mind won't let me.
Right. It won't stop.
It just won't stop. So I have to find something physical that will allow me to get out of that, you know?
Right. Well, I want to say a little point on that because I know I used to feel the same way because I'm so high energy. I used to be like, you know, people be like yoga and I'm like, I can't sit still that long. Or meditation, it's like my brain's spinning. So the thing about meditation that's really fascinating, that it took me being, you know, in an anxious state to be doing meditation to understand the way it really works. Hey, Ashley. So it took me being there to figure out why meditation works. So when you're doing the meditation, it's okay, Suzanne, if you put on your Headspace app or your Calm app or whatever, you set it next to you and your head is kind of running the whole time, but you're really focusing on listening to the gentleman on Headspace, for example. Take these 5 deep breaths, and you do. Imagine your anxiety on a cloud, and you do. Even though you're like, but I need to go do this. Even though you're doing that, what's so fascinating is it's the practice of meditation that changes your brain. It's not the actual act. What's happening is when you're practicing, maybe you hear 50% of what he says on the first time, and then the second time you hear 60, and on the 5th time you hear 80. But what you're doing is you're practicing reeling in your brain. You're practicing your brain from going to now take a deep breath. Now imagine your anxiety on a cloud. Now imagine the animal and the squirrel in your backyard. You're telling your brain what to do, thereby practicing telling your brain what to do. It's kind of like going to the gym. So when you do that for 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, at some point people report their anxieties down, because when their anxiety pops up, they're able to tell their brain what to do and it will respond. So even if you feel unsuccessful at meditation, because most of us do in the beginning feel like this isn't working, this is crazy, I can't stop my brain. Keep practicing, kind of like when you go to the gym and you're 50 pounds overweight and you say, this is not going to work. And you go for 3 months and you lose 20 pounds. So just stay in the practice, because that's a really great technique.
Yeah, it's like when people tell me they can't go to yoga because they can't touch their toes. And it's like, well, that's kind of the whole point of yoga, to be able to get to that place where you can eventually touch your toes. You know?
Yeah.
Like, you're not supposed to be able to touch your toes in the beginning.
Yeah, if you can already touch your toes,
right.
Skip it.
That's right. The other thing that I loved about this magazine, and this is kind of like why we started with this topic, the Real Simple magazine that I saw in the grocery store this morning, Find Your Balance. And, you know, I'm not a huge magazine reader. I do love books, but I've only started and gotten like 3 pages in.
It's so great.
But it's so good.
No, I'm really mad you didn't bring me one. I'm like, I'm taking this from her when she leaves. This is so good.
But it has really great, and it puts it in a way that you haven't heard before. And I think that's what I love about this stuff, because these are all topics that we've talked about a million times. Self-care and, you know, and balance and taking care of yourself and what that looks like. I wake up 45 minutes earlier than the kids for my meditation practice. Life-changing. Do you meditate for 45 minutes, Ashley?
I'm sure she does. She's the most diligent human I've ever met in my life. If it works and if something can be done, she does it.
Well, you know, it's funny that you say that, Ashley, because the interesting thing that I have found in my, you know, anxiety and taking care of myself is that when I get out of my routine, my morning routine, whatever that looks like, I get into Crazy Suze. And, you know, when I am in that morning routine meditating, so I wake up, I get a hot lemon water, I go back, I meditate for 10 minutes, I write in my journal, and then I feel like I'm ready to go. But when I get out of that routine, like, my life just seems very chaotic.
Right.
But it's in the routine, I think, that you can start to create this getting control of anxiety.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And the other thing that I loved about this magazine was
Hey, Dana.
were the 3 questions that you should ask yourself every morning. And you know, I had started this about 3 months ago, where I was asking myself, what is the number one right thing you can do for yourself today, which I think is a really good question to ask yourself. But this is broken down into 3 separate questions you can ask yourself. And this is from Malika Chopra, who is Deepak Chopra's daughter.
Oh, wow.
And she says, number 1, what will make me feel healthy today? So whether that's going for a walk or going to yoga or eating really well, you know, what can I do do for myself to make myself feel healthy today? Number 2, what will make me feel connected today? And this is about your relationships. Like, maybe it's putting down the phone right when you get home and really focusing on your children, or, you know, creating that deep sense of joy and a connection with someone else. So how can I feel connected today? And then the third is feeling connected. That was my daughter just calling. Just hung up on her. Yeah. Lane, I'll call you in a little bit. What will give me a sense of purpose today? And that is, you know, doing something for someone else, whether it's just dropping off clothes at Goodwill, or looks like That is kind of the 3 things that she asked herself every morning. And I thought it was a really good way to look at things,
It is. And it's funny because on the same page, something that jumps out at me, which I was going to say, which fits with all that too, is especially when you're anxious and when
my daughter keeps calling.
Yeah, yes.
Let me just see if I can text her really quick from this phone. Sorry.
Or you can text her
ahead.
from my phone. But when you're in a really difficult time, when you're struggling, staying in the moment or staying in the day, like just being able to just be like, I just need to get through today. Like, what do I need to do? Yeah. So it's like starting with that concept of like, I just need to get through today. I just need to stay. I don't need to work. Because I think when you're struggling too, it's like, oh God, how am I going to do this for 50 years? And it's like, you know what? Nobody's saying you have to do this for 50 years. Don't you sometimes do that when you're spinning? You're like, I can't do this forever. Right. So, those questions and staying in today and just doing the next thing that's going to help you get through today. What will make me feel healthy today? What will make me feel connected today? You have to stay in today. You're not going to be able to make a 10-year commitment when you're feeling anxious.
Yeah. And then the whole hormonal thing, and what I loved what you were saying about before we started recording was to keep at it, as far as like, if you're not getting the answers, right now, keep at it. Like maybe there's the next thing will help or the next thing will help. And I know for you, you've just had so much going on with your health over the last couple of years. And then I think just being able to keep trying to figure out how to make things better for yourself.
Well, what I'm always excited about is that there always seems to be another resource. So, please don't give up. Just keep, it's like there's an acupuncturist, there's a hormone specialist, there's a better doctor, there's, melatonin, but then there's also this vice. There's so many different options. And I think that when you're struggling, like with your health, or when you're just struggling with depression or anxiety, you start to feel like I'm never gonna, like, I want to give up. I'm never gonna get out of this. Yeah. And I remember being a kid and having an adult in my life say to me, you would never want to commit suicide or do something scary because you just never know what tomorrow holds. Like maybe they invent the cure for your disease on Tuesday and you check out on Monday. Mm-hmm. You never know what resource, what thing is going to change your life. And that life is so temporary. Like when I'm struggling, I'll say to myself, this is temporary. This is temporary. This is just for today. I don't feel good today, but it's temporary. So really recognizing there's a lot of resources, recognizing that it's temporary, having hope, that tomorrow will be different because, gosh, in our world, things get invented and changed and there's always a new resource. That's what I'm blown away by.
And there's always a sunrise. I mean, I will tell you that yesterday I was feeling in this really crazy dark place. And I kept telling myself last night, Suzanne, like tomorrow is going to be better. You're going to wake up. You're going to go to yoga. You're going to, take care of yourself. Mm-hmm. And so I think that, you just have to keep remembering that if you're going through a rough patch, like just remember, like you have another chance tomorrow to get on the right track.
Right. And also, I think it's important sometimes to use people as your resource. Like for me, I know stories, like with menopause and perimenopause, every 60-year-old woman you're going to come in contact with has probably, I'm so happy, Karina. She said, I so needed to hear this today. Thank you. So did we. Yes. From our mouth to our ears. Dana. Whew. Okay, girl. So, so.
Sorry, Dana. I'm laying on the couch after 10 days with my grandson, she says. New cancer diagnosis, and I'm exhausted from that, too. I totally get it. Oh, Dana.
So this from my mouth to our ears and to your ears, talk to the people that have been where you are. I'm going to do a shout out to Sally Nisberg, who's an amazing human, and she has written the book. Oh gosh, let it come back to me. What is it? I will have to look that up for you, Dana, but she is a humongous advocate for breast cancer. And Live Like Crazy. Sally Nisberg, Live Like Crazy. She helps people walk through breast cancer and all that good stuff. And that's what I was just saying, right? What is that how powerful it is to connect to people who have been there. They are on the other side. They're showing you again that this is temporary. My mom's a breast cancer survivor. I think it's been 12 years now. Like being able to talk to people, I was saying perimenopause and menopause, but certainly cancer, anything where there's people that have gotten through and they're feeling great and it's just temporary. So even when it's something that's
Dana
scary.
says it's all good, no worries. I'm a tough
Oh,
one.
girl,
she is a tough one.
We know that. You are fierce. I'm not worried about you. You are fierce. And Sally always says, cancer, you lose. Right. So I agree with that. But talking to people about, what were your resources? How did you get through? And what was your darkest time? And then what changed that? Really getting that information so that you have a picture of hope. I think we need hope.
Yeah.
That's big.
What are some of your other tools for creating happiness? And the other thing that they said in this article that I think was really eye-opening was that a lot of us look for happiness, and so we're searching for I just want to be happy, but in reality, you don't need to look for happiness. You just need to really notice the moments of happiness, which are right now,
Right. And that's, so another tool that you've heard a billion times, but I really think it does shift you in that moment is in that moment of upset or whatever, gratitude list. I don't care if you're driving, gratitude list. What are the things that I'm thankful for? What are the things that I'm grateful for? And what are the things that I'm enjoying? Whether it be Suzanne and I were fixated on a lizard in my backyard and we were just both like fascinated. And
I'm like, it looks like a snake.
Yeah, we were just fascinated. And then I was noticing the birds. I sit in I have a gorgeous Florida room that's so lit up with all these windows and I never open them. And so we had to open them for the lighting and I'm just like, oh my goodness, look at that bluebird. And look at that, and that hedge is so pretty, and so having those moments of gratitude, taking those snapshots in the moment, being grateful, and reminding yourself at the same time, this is temporary. Whatever the tough stuff is temporary. Being grateful for what's there, And I've already shared a lot of different tools, so now you can't ask me for the tools.
You're like, I already gave all my tools.
Yeah. I've done like 4 or 5.
Yeah. Well, I think just remembering those 3 questions that we talked about, like if you can write those down in your journal, like I love having a journal beside my bed because I can, and there's no rules about your journal. You can write whatever the hell you want. But I love this, just putting these 3 questions and you answer them every single day. What will make me feel healthy today? What will make me feel connected today? And what will give me a sense of purpose today? And so I think if you can just answer those 3 things and try to follow through with those every single day, do something that lights someone else up, that makes you feel connected to someone you love, and that makes you feel healthy and good. Right. Whatever that looks like for you.
And just connection, right? Like what I was talking about with resources and connection. You are not alone. Dana's not alone. When Suzanne walked in my door today, she's like, I'm sorry, I'm crying. I'm like, I love.
She's like, I'm glad you're crying because I've been crying.
Thank you, Jesus, that you're where you are today, because otherwise I feel crazy, right? So it was so great because we literally started talking. She lives all the way in Delray, 45 minutes away. We haven't talked in 2 or 3 weeks. We've both been busy. We're literally going through the same things. Right. Same things, same hormonal things. Same. So it's just, it's intense. We are not alone. So that's the other really big tool for you guys, is to hang in there. And Sally Ann, I love Sally Ann. She said, you'll get through it, Dana. Stay positive, get the facts, make your own decisions. She's a 14-year breast cancer survivor. Sally Ann is, and she's a friend of mine, and she is such an incredible human. She's my walking buddy down the street, and we catch each other and do loops.
Come over, Sally Ann.
I know. She's wonderful. So yes, and so yeah, there's a lot of people that have gotten through it and gotten to the other side, but we are not alone, and we all are in our little houses sometimes by ourselves or with our spouses and feeling like, oh my gosh, I'm crazy, I can't sleep, I'm I'm anxious, I'm this, I'm that, and right down the street or right down the road or one of your closest friends is in the same boat. So I think we do need to start reaching out.
Yeah.
When you're in your darkest moments and you want to just be hibernating, reach out.
I know.
You know, make that
That's
call.
the hardest thing for me
It's
is to
so
reach out
hard.
when I'm in those moments to someone else and saying, you know, I'm having a rough day.
Yeah, yeah. It's hard.
So hey,
yeah.
Jason. All right. Anything else that you think you want to mention about creating a life of happiness and calm?
The only thing else is that I've heard about this book. True story. I haven't read it yet. I'm a little bit like Suze. I might have 6 or 7 or 10 or 14 or 17 that I'm trying to get to. But I've heard from other colleagues that this is a really good book, and it's called The Anxiety Toolkit: Strategies for Fine-Tuning Your Mind and Moving Past Your Stuck Points by Alice Boyes. And I think we're always looking for a good resource that can kind of help change those thoughts, because with anxiety and depression, not that there's not a million contributing factors, physical and hormones and all of that, but what we're telling ourselves about the anxiety is really critical as well. So a book like this, The Anxiety Toolkit, can be really helpful.
Yeah, love that. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching and joining us. Agreed, it's harder to make new friends as we get older and have families. It's important to find resources and all kinds. That's so
Absolutely,
true.
Kim.
Absolutely.
Keep reaching out.
Save people, you know. I mean, you don't want to just, you know.
Yeah, don't do this in the grocery store. Just saying.
No, I'm pretty sure I've done that. Start crying to the woman
I feel like
next
she
to me
may
in the
have
grocery
started
store.
reading this book to the neighbor and be like, "Can you believe I found this book?"
This is the best thing ever. All right, and if you're in the grocery store, go pick this up, because I'm telling you, I've only gone about 3 or 4 pages in, but
it's
it
good
is
stuff.
really good stuff, real simple. Find your balance. It's in the grocery store right now.
Grab Suzanne one, because I'm stealing this copy.
No, you're not. I gotta finish this. I'll send you a copy. All right, bye guys. Have a happy Saturday.